Hola Madridistas, we are back again. The usual suspects, Doris with me. Okay, how are you guys doing? Firstly,
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Good.
did you guys enjoy the preseason?
It was okay. It wasn't
Yeah.
not like I don't really know what enjoying preseason means, but yeah.
Just sitting back and not panicking for a second, I guess,
I don't really think that is possible.
since there is nothing at stake, in preseason.
Yeah, but
But yeah, man.
whenever Real Madrid watch playing, you always want them to win, right? So
Absolutely, absolutely. As preseason, in my opinion, you had asked me the question, like, what do you expect for preseason? Back then, I couldn't frame a well thought out answer, but in my opinion, at least, it is basically feeling out how your squad is shaping up, and basically sending out a message to the rest of Europe.
I don't think you send out messages in preseason. I wouldn't agree with that.
You,
I think
you
it's
do,
mostly
you do,
about
because
just
results
getting fitness for me.
fair enough, but the results don't matter. Like I get it, but you still has to like send a message. Right?
I think if you're Barcelona, you probably want to send out a message because now we're not gonna get beaten 8-2. But the thing is like
Fair enough.
they made a bucket load of transfers and everybody now expects them to win everything. So
You had to get a sliding in. I like
yeah.
it. I like it. I'll allow it.
I mean, it's Barcelona.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But we played against Juve last night, and which seemed in paper a very strong test ahead of Frankfurt on the 10th. And as we all know, Carlo had mentioned earlier, the lineup that's going to feature for against Juve is going to be the lineup that's going to be facing Frankfurt, which was as expected, predominantly based on the lineup that got him the Champions League a couple of months ago. Juve is going through a transition period themselves. They look like it, in my opinion, they look like a team devoid of confidence, any sort of real cutting edge to their attacks. They looked okay. The front three looked okay. The midfield was blown away. I don't know what happened to them. Fagioli is a very highly rated young prospect. He started for them last night. Locatelli is also highly rated, and Zakaria, who came in with high expectation. Like they looked completely out of their depth. That's what happens when you allow time and space for KCM to dictate the play. How good did you think our midfield was again last night? Okay.
For me, I think the fact of the matter is like KCM being good is not a surprise. It's only a matter of time for them to get into game shape. So I think it took them 2 games. But that even when you look at the game against Barcelona, I think when Modric and Cruz and Casemiro they came on, I think we did better against Barcelona than we did with Tchouaméni and Valverde and Camavinga. So that was there in the first game as well. And the second game, okay, I think the issue more was the fact that Benzema was getting into the rhythm, like the first 20 minutes or something. So once he got there, we were better again.
Casemiro had a little iffy passes earlier. Remember?
I think the thing is like with Casemiro, you can really expect those iffy passes because that's who he is at this point, and because we all know what he's good at and what he's not. Because when teams are pressing him, he struggles a little bit with the ball. And so against playing against Ruiz, Casemiro, and Modric is like it's like playing against one of the best midfields of all time. And like you said, the Juve midfield lacked a little bit of experience at the top level. I think Locatelli is really good. He's one of the players that I like a lot, and probably wanted him to come to Real Madrid last season. But right now, I think apart from him, Zakaria is like he's good, but he's not Real Madrid good. He's not at the level that Juve used to be. Like Juve used to be Champions League finals, Champions League regulars. So Zakaria is not that at that level. And the young guy you mentioned, I think he needs some time to grow, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Fagioli. Yeah. So and I think the biggest issue for Juventus was the fact that their fullbacks were struggling a lot because Danilo, we all know what Danilo is like. Anybody who's watched Real Madrid can tell you that. And Alexandro, I think he's had a big fall from grace, especially from the time that Juventus stopped his move to the Premier League. I don't remember if it was to Chelsea or United. So I
Couple of
think
years ago.
yeah, a couple of years ago, he's had a lot. Had a drastic loss of form, and you
Mm.
know I think Bonucci and Bremer were the two players who kind of held Real Madrid at
Bonucci was
bay.
serious. Like I saw him on the one attack. Like Benzema was trying to shuffle into his right foot and fool him. He was like, "Nah, mate, you're not doing that."
Yeah, I think
Um,
Bonucci's experience really helped it out yesterday. And like you mentioned, him defending Benzema, I would also like to point out the fact that he defended Vinicius pretty well, right? When
mm,
you look at Bonucci's age and you don't expect him to have the pace to combat Vinicius, but the thing is, like, he used his intelligence because he forced Vinicius to make decisions inside the box. And once you do that, Vinicius is like, he's improving, but he's not that good, you know, making decisions inside the box. So when you make Vinicius think, I think that's when the problem starts for him.
mm.
So Bonucci really made him think by giving him space and, you know, trying to force him to play particular shots. And that was something that really impressed me because, you know, right now there's no Chiellini and there's no Barzagli. So I guess Bonucci, there's always been this narrative that Bonucci is perhaps not that great defensively compared to Chiellini and Barzagli, but, you know, he was brilliant on the ball. So he sort of completed the trio. But
He
right
took a
now,
free kick. He took a free kick which just shaved the crossbar.
yeah,
Remember?
that was also pretty interesting because I think I was about to tweet yesterday. You know, it's like I've seen Bonucci do everything apart from taking free kicks, and now I've seen that too. So
Yeah.
Bonucci is a special player. So
Mm,
I wasn't
absolutely.
surprised with his play yesterday, but then I was impressed. I wasn't surprised, but I was impressed.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, UA try to give their best shot. Like they were up for it. At least they were up for it. So I was happy by the level of football that was on display. But yeah, man, like champagne football, like I was alluding to earlier, we were dominating quick 1-2s, back heels, you know, no look passes. It was mad. But amid all that brilliance, I gotta actually come to you, Doris, to pose a question, right? So Ferland Mendy has been the mainstay at left back, and he has been a rock, an absolute rock, in our defense. And like people used to downplay his ball carrying abilities back in the day. I remember because they used to think that he doesn't have the marauding runs of say Marcelo, but I always thought he had the know-how to somehow wriggle his way out of a press. But last night, and which has been a recurring theme in Mendy's performances in the past few months, that he's erratic when he's pressed hard, and which the biggest indication was what culminated in him spraying a 5-yard pass across his own box, which Di Maria almost scored, and Militao had to make a last-ditch lunge to save, which was a contentious penalty. I think if there was VAR, they might have given him a pen. But how do you think Mendy is going to cope, especially with Rudiger waiting in the wing to come in?
Well, I think that Mendy, we know that we cannot count on him, especially because of the injuries that he faced, and he will probably face them again. And Perez knew that, so we knew that we needed a backup center back and a backup left back. We had that in Alaba, but we needed a real center back, which many people think that Rudiger will not do a good job because he's used a back three instead of a back four. And I think that only time will tell, because he is an experienced player right now, and he's won things. He knows what he's doing, and Ancelotti knows what he's doing. He put that with this team last year, and in question of Mendy, when you watch Madrid, you don't watch Madrid because of him. He's not the first player that will come to your mind when you think Madrid, but he does a lot of work that our team needs every game that he plays. He had some bad games last year, but all in all, he's been a solid performer every game that he's been in because he was injured a lot. So I think that his plays doesn't change this season, and I think that Ancelotti is not even planning on that, on changing the.
Let me ask you a question in regards to that as well, because since Mendy might have his off days, like do you see Rudiger displacing someone in the back line, especially Militao, who again looked shaky. His uh, his head has been out of the game for the past month, I think, with his personal stuff going on in the background as well. He looked shaky. I remember Hoke was mentioning that so some of his erratic nature is down to him carrying an injury, which he would get treated um, during the
The
summer.
injury is like it wasn't like it doesn't have a specific treatment. It's more like getting rest,
Fair
like
enough.
yeah, relaxing. So I think that
Right.
was the issue. But they have only had 1 month break, so I don't really know what's going on in there. But
He has a mistake in him. Like we all knew that, right? Like
yeah,
Militao is not the perfect defender. Like he can be very solid, or he can have his off days, which just has left. Like there's no in between for Militao. So Doris, back to you again. Like, do you see Rudiger displacing someone in that Champions League winning backline very soon?
Very soon, no, but
Mm.
it will happen. I'm sure of it because I know that a lot of people are like big fans of Mendy, and
Yeah.
I understand that, and I understand why. But we need to be realistic that his injuries are gonna catch up with him one day, and it's what surprised me is that Ancelotti said that he wanted to use Rudiger as left back instead of Alaba. That was what surprised me because if I
Mm.
had to choose, I would rather have Alaba there. He's experienced as a left back and he's great in attack, and he showed that he's also good in defense because he played as a center back last year. So what
But
surprised me is that Alaba
I've heard that
wasn't chosen.
Alaba prefers.
Wasn't there?
I've heard that Alaba prefers to play centre back more than left back. Is it right?
No, no. I would rather Alaba play left back instead
Mm.
of Mendy than
Mm.
Rudiger play there. And I
yeah,
was
I think
surprised that Ancelotti chose it that way.
yeah, I think answering your question, Snell, I don't really think like I don't really know if there's truth to the fact that Alaba only wants to play center back and doesn't want to play left back because
Mm.
honestly, like you really have to be connected to the club to know those details. And a lot of people say a lot of things on social media, and not
Yeah.
everything is right. But then
Mm.
I have to agree with the fact that I am leaning towards Rudiger displacing Militao right now. I think come the end of the season, it's probably going to be Rudiger and Alaba, although we expect it to be Rudiger and Militao. But I think probably Rudiger and Alaba is going to be the backline come end of the season. And as for left back, I am hesitant to say that Mendy is going to get displaced unless he's injured, because I
Mm.
think Mendy does an important job. The fact is like he provides the defensive cover that helps us keep Vinicius up front, right? Because Vinicius does not defend in Ancelotti's system. I'm not saying Vinicius is a bad defender. I'm saying like Ancelotti's system needs Vinicius to stay at the midway line because
Mm.
then he can use, he can be active in the transitions and exploit space. Because Vinicius' game is all about exploiting space, and if you pull him back, you take that away from him. So I think Mendy is somebody who provides foil to him, and the fact is like Mendy has the ability to not to allow Alaba to play his game, right? Alaba can push forward, Mendy can cover for him. Whereas
Yeah.
other fullback like we had Miguel, and I think that's the biggest reason that Ancelotti doesn't want to play with Miguel is the fact that Miguel cannot cover for Alaba's deficiencies when he goes up, right? So I think in that scenario, Mendy is the perfect fullback for playing alongside Alaba. So for me personally, I don't think Mendy is going to get displaced easily. Although I have to agree with the fact that I think yesterday Mendy was pretty poor, and he wasn't himself. He wasn't his imperious.
Yeah. Rudiger is like I've always thought Rudiger doesn't have the athleticism to play as a wing back, to play as a left back in this instance. But
I mean, he was pretty
read
good
that.
against Barcelona.
Yeah, I've read that he was clocked as the fastest player. I don't know if it's fastest defender in the
I
Premier
think
League.
he reached the highest top speed. That's about it.
So this man has got some serious pace to him as well, combined with his really good physical attributes. So Rudiger is a very interesting signing, which boosts multiple areas that we were always concerned about. But moving on, we got to talk about that second goal, how it was set up, the intricate play, which was on display with Hazard, Vallejo, and eventually Asensio getting a tap in. Some people were pretty impressed by Hazard's showing in the second half. Doris, do you think this guy stands a chance this season, or is it the case of empty promises again?
You had to ask me that.
Oh.
Well, I can only predict it. I mean, in my opinion and in my hopes, I really hope he succeeds. And if we can base our opinions on 3 games now, I think that he did all right. He didn't score.
Do you think he walked as a false 9 against Club America? I thought that was a dumpster fire. Like, he couldn't do anything.
I would rather see him at right wing if we had to choose, because he's not gonna displace.
Do you think he has the pace to beat a man and find a ball from the wing?
Maybe not if we use him that way.
Okay. You want him to drift in wide, but the thing is, opposing defenders, they know that, even before the ball is kicked, that this guy doesn't have the pace anymore. He's gonna cut in. He's gonna cut in.
Maybe if the lineup consisted of Valverde or someone fast in the right midfield role that could switch with him when it's needed, when you need speed or need the creativity from him, because he is a creative player. He is a good player. Just he doesn't have the stamina or the speed anymore.
I think the key aspect of this fact is that Eden Hazard has never been a player who went out wide and beat players with trickery. He's always been a player who's drifted inside.
At Chelsea. How can you say that he never used to beat a man?
No, I'm not saying he doesn't beat a man. I said he didn't beat players through trickery and pulling them out wide. What I'm saying is
quick 1-2s, and of course
that is different. That is different.
Yeah.
He's not a typical winger. The fact is that even at Chelsea, he used to drift inside, play centrally, and he had his best attribute was his creativity. And I think why everybody's saying that yesterday he was good is the fact that he dropped deep, brought balls forward, and played a creative role. So I think when you say the last 2 games he wasn't good, you have to agree with the fact, because I agree that in the first 2 games he was struggling as a false 9. But yesterday I think he played a little bit deeper. I wouldn't exactly call him a false 9. And he had Asensio and Rodrigo alongside him, given the fact that both of these players have the ability to get inside the box and shoot. I think that is something that helped them. And what Hazard did was he played deeper, he dropped deep, he brought the ball out of the midfield. He brought the ball out of our own box. So I think that is something that helped him. And I think going forward, Hazard as a false 9 probably doesn't work, because I don't think he can be a central reference. But what Hazard could work with is the fact that probably he's used as a creative number 10 or something like that. Because for me, I don't really like him as a false 9, because I've never seen Hazard be a prolific scorer. So I don't really think.
At least we can agree on the fact that we can't rely on him to change a game, right? No.
I don't know about changing games, because the fact that Hazard is a special player, right? Because you can't just deny the fact that most of his struggles for the past 3 seasons have been because of the fact that he broke his ankle. Then he had a metal plate in his ankle that didn't allow him to move freely, and that a player like Hazard needs a complete movement to be able to express himself freely. So that has been struggling. That has held him back. But now this season he doesn't have the plate, so I don't really know what to predict. Like what Hazard's gonna be. He's a special talent. You cannot take away the fact that he was one of the best players in the world before he got injured. So can he change games? I don't really know. But I think as a creative player, he probably has a role in this team. But then he cannot be Benzema's substitute. That's something that
I have a question for you, Hoke. So from last season's lineup, who would you switch Hazard with?
Like honestly, I'm saying
like one player.
I don't think Hazard can be a starter. Like I don't think Hazard is supposed to be a Benzema substitute. What I'm saying is he has a different role. If he ever change tactics and maybe play 4 in the midfield, that's where he comes in and plays at the head of the diamond or in the hole behind the striker. That's where he can play. But do we have to change formations? I don't really know. It just depends on the game that we're playing. Because sometimes playing with Valverde as your out wide player isn't going to work, because even Valverde isn't that great playing as a right winger. He's helpful against the big teams, but when you are playing against a smaller team who is sitting back, I'm not sure how much utility Valverde has as a wide midfielder.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I agree with that. Yeah.
We have less than 10 minutes to kind of wrap this up, so I'm gonna just quick fire through some very interesting questions. Okay, first to you, right? Asensio. Is Asensio the Guti of this current generation?
No, never.
No. So people are not gonna be watching his compilations and saying that how did he get into this Real Madrid team? And
I mean, you can never ask how Guti got into Real Madrid team. Guti was a special player. He's a maverick.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. Asensio isn't Asensio and Guti are 2 different kind of players.
Okay, so that's not a valid argument that he is our generation's Guti. Fair enough. We played Club America on Tuesday, which ended in a draw, and it had its fair share of drama. Which it was a much more open game than the Juventus one. Couple of takeaways I had was that KCM, when we have KCM with Valverde, we kind of control the game so much more against more prominent, better opposition. But it relies more on Benzema and Vinicius doing the creative work. How do you guys think the B team will be integral this season, especially with so many more competitions we are involved in?
I don't really know how to judge the B team, because given the fact that they didn't play with Benzema, so we don't really know what creativity they have. I think Ancelotti put it best when he said that the B team is the rock and roll of football, because they have this high pressing, high intensity football, because they have Tchouaméni, Camavinga, and Ceballos, right? So I think Ancelotti called them the rock and roll of football. So I think when you pair them with a good striker, somebody who can you make use of the balls that they're pinging in, that's when I think their utility would be best explored. But given the fact that right now we only have Benzema, I don't really know what to expect from them.
Fair enough. Doris, Vinicius Tobias, a lot have been speculated about him giving Carvajal a run for his money sometime in the future. The guy came in from Shakhtar's B team. It seems like he has impressed our coaching staff immensely, and although he gave away kind of a messy penalty against Club America, do you see potential?
It was unfortunate. Do I see?
Do you see potential in him?
Yes.
That's a hard question.
Yes. I mean, I think it's too early to say, but as potential goes, yes, I do. I mean, I'm not gonna count the penalty that he gave away, because I don't think that speaks about the whole player.
He was
But
kind of playing
course, he's young.
a lot. I felt like he was kind of being very reserved. I think since this was his first major foray into playing for the first team, even though it was a friendly. I think he was.
I think that's the point, right? Because Vinicius Tobias like is supposed to be somebody who's better offensively than he is defensively. So because he was playing safe the other day, I don't really know how much to judge him for that. And given the fact that whenever he's only played like 2 or 3 games for Castilla, so I haven't really watched him and I can't even judge him from that. So I think this season, as the season goes on, we'll probably know what Vinicius Tobias is better. And although Doris, I do agree that the penalty wasn't supposed to be a penalty, but the fact remains that we need Tobias, like he put his foot out and Fidalgo took advantage of it. So that was a defensive mistake from him, even if the penalty wasn't supposed to be a penalty. That's just my opinion.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Ceballos was running the show against Club America. They looked pretty good, especially Camavinga. Shout out to Farouk, for doubting him time and time again and giving me the opportunity to diss him. But yeah, man, Camavinga and Tchouaméni looks like the real deal, when played together. I hope we see more
I
of
have
them.
very high expectations of Camavinga going into the season. Let's see how he does.
He has impressed me this preseason. If I had to pick one player from this preseason, it's Camavinga.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think Camavinga has probably been the best player who's played all 3 games. Benzema hasn't played all 3 games. Otherwise, Benzema is obviously the best player. But I think
quick word on the call. On the caller, the man scored. He just bent the ball in from outside the post to in.
That's something you expect from Benzema. For me, more impressive was the fact that he did it with left foot yesterday. Almost.
Yeah.
Matthias Perrin made a brilliant save.
Yeah.
Save, yeah.
He's still looking sharp. I'm pretty sure he wants another Ballon d'Or. So fingers crossed for that.
Benzema for Ballon d'Or. The propaganda never stops.
It never stops. It's full flow now. Remember when I used to tell you guys to calm down last season, midway through last season, but now it's in full flow, bro. Full flow. But yeah, quick last footnotes before we wind this up. Betis, yeah. Not Betis, I mean Fabian Ruiz, the Betis youth product, who was once touted as one of the most promising upcoming midfielders in Europe. Apparently, he is kind of fallen off with the Napoli hierarchy, and he wants to leave on a free next summer. And Real Madrid seems to be fronting the race to sign him. Okay, do you think he'll be a good acquisition with all this plethora of midfield options we have already?
For me personally, it seems more like something his agent is feeding Fabrizio, because the fact is like everything that's coming is from Fabrizio Romano. So I really have my doubts, and we know Fabrizio Romano gets his news from the agents. So for me, it looks like something that his agent is drumming up, because Real Madrid have like 7 midfielders already. Probably if they lose Dani Ceballos next season, it becomes 6. If Ruiz and Modric not, it becomes 4, and then it becomes a real possibility. But I think it's really difficult to imagine the fact that we'll lose Ceballos, Modric, and Cruz, all 3 of them next season together. Because if you're losing Cruz and Modric, then probably Ceballos stays, and then Jude Bellingham is supposed to be the main target. So I don't really know why we're gonna get Fabian Ruiz as well. For me personally, I would just hold off on this rumor and wait till the next summer.
Quick question. Fabian Ruiz, you get to make a decision, yeah? Fabian Ruiz or Jude Bellingham, who would you take? Fuck the price, don't worry about the price or anything. EU stuff, anything.
Personally, I've never watched either of them, so I don't really think I'm the best person to. But
even then,
Jude Bellingham is a youngster, and he's pretty promising. So probably you would be attracted towards him. But then Fabian Ruiz is Spanish and it's creative, so I think that's an area of need for Madrid.
Fabian Ruiz is similar in the mold of Dani Ceballos, from at least what I've seen of him. He's never really.
I mean, I've always felt Dani Ceballos is more creative than the other 3, like Tchouaméni, Camavinga, and Valverde. So I think if Fabian Ruiz comes in, he'll provide a creative spark. But then that is supposing that we lose all 3, Ceballos, Cruz, and Modric next season.
Good points. Doris, I have a question for you. So I think couple hours ago, the news broke again that Real Madrid might be looking into bringing Raul Tomas, who scored 17 goals in La Liga last season. He was quite prolific, although playing at Espanyol. Do you think he'll be a good backup for 25 to 30 million, or do you think the price is too steep?
Well, for the price, I don't know, because you never know with players, and in the market right now there are not many strikers that you could. What people don't understand sometimes is that other players don't want to go to a team to play a backup that never plays. That's the main thing. And anyone that is up for that job, that knows his place in the team, I'm down for them to come.
For me, I think
That's all I gotta
personally,
say.
the rumor is more the fact that Raul de Tomas is waiting for Madrid rather than Madrid going in for Raul de Tomas. But I think when we're considering this, you also have to consider the fact that we're not just signing Raul de Tomas for the next year, because people have this tendency to, just view the transfer as like, oh yeah, he's going to come in next year and help us. But the fact is, you have to look at it, because he's going to sign a contract for 4 or 5 years, and then it's going to be other Mariana situation 5 years down the line if he does not develop, and if he.
But don't you think he has
struggling
more
for
to
game time.
gain than Mariano to eventually find some sort of a role in the team?
Oh, I do agree he's good, but given the fact of the matter is, Raul de Tomas is never going to be Real Madrid's first striker. He's always going to be second or third striker. And 3 or 4 years down the line, he's going to be like, I don't know, 30, and he's still earning 4 or 5 million, and you cannot move him because at that point nobody's going to buy. Nobody's going to want to buy him. And we're going to be in the same place that we are with Mariano right now, because teams coming in cannot offer him what he wants. So we're going to be stuck with 4 or 5 million the wages.
Exactly.
So that's going to be a struggle for us. But then I must admit, I think Raul de Tomas is a better prospect as a backup than say Timo Werner or even having Eden Hazard. But then
Timo Werner, the T-Rex, you're comparing him to the T-Rex. But anyway.
I mean, Timo Werner is another player who's been offered Real Madrid, so that's what I can compare him with, right?
I'm not gonna diss on him. He's better than Lukaku any day. But yeah, I think that's a wrap, people, for this episode. We tried our best to kind of go through pre-season, which was eventful, had some brilliant football at show, some very promising signs from the team. My only gripe would have been if we didn't get a win in preseason, and last night thankfully it was sorted. And what an emphatic way to actually win. People were chanting "Olays" in a fucking preseason game. So yeah, like it looked pretty blistering how we took care of UA last night. Yeah, a couple of footnotes. We will be doing a preview for the Super Cup hopefully next week with our fellow brothers from Hey Interact podcast. You can check them out. We actually mentioned them in a tweet. You could actually go check them out on Twitter. And we have a Feminino podcast in the pipeline with Doris and her team very soon. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Also, we have the intros and the season refresh also in the pipeline. Keep your eyes peeled on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. So yeah, until next time, I think peace out and Hala Madrid.
Peace out, hombres.